Hi my friends, today we are going to talk about functions. Let's start with the definition of it. Python functions are blocks of code that execute a certain action. Functions can be called as many times as you want in a program. This means that you can run the same block of code multiple times without having to repeat your code. Now let's expand on this definition a little more. We can think of functions as a factory. The factory always does the same job, same process, you will understand better in a second. As for why we use functions, functions make our code more modular and more readable. I will try to give a simple example to understand the logic. So let's create a toList with different numbers in them. So I will create a list, let's say number 1, and I will write a random numbers here, so it's enough. Then I'm going to create a second list. Okay, our scenario is that we want to find the sum of these numbers. For that, the first thing that comes to our mind may be for loops, which we learned a few videos ago. Actually, we can use it. I will write it. I will keep a variable to keep the total, and then I write the for loop here. Let's say numbers 1, and then I will take the number one by one, and then I will add it to total variable, and after this process I will print it total. So I run it. Look, I got the total here. If we want to sum the values in the numbers toList, we will have to rewrite the same code here like this. I will just copy it, and I just need to write numbers 2, it's the second list, and then let's say total 2, and I need to print the second sum. I got the sum of numbers here. What would happen if we had, 100 lists? The number of unnecessary codes here will increase, and we will have to write the same codes over and over to do the same operations. But if we created a factory, by factory I mean a function, wouldn't it be great if this factory took the numbers and returned us the sum? Of course it will be great actually, so we can try it. I will delete the second loop here. First of all, I need to specify that I will write a function in Python by typing def, which is abbreviation of definition, and then I give a name that is generally compatible with the job that will be done by function. So I write add numbers, and I put parentheses and a colon. Within the parentheses I specify a parameter name that can be related to the parameter that this function will take. So I can write numbers. Next question is what the function will do. So I just copy the loop here. But now instead of numbers 1, it will iterate the data I get from here as a parameter. So I need to pass the numbers to for loop. To complete the factory, the function, there is one step left. Our function completed the process. Okay, we have a total here, but it didn't return the result yet. The function needs to give it to us in order for the user to reach the sum of these numbers that were passed by parameter. We do this with the return keyword. I mean, we return the result to the client, or where the function is called, we return the value using the return keyword. You can return here everything. Actually, you don't need to return a specific thing. I mean, you can even write your name or everything, but what we want is we want to return the total of these numbers we get as a parameter. So that's why I will return total here. Now all we have to do is to call this function by passing the numbers of which we want sum. So let's do it. I will call the function. We call the function just like that. So I wrote the name of function, but the function expects a parameter. So look at the parentheses here. It expects something which we name it as numbers. So we can pass the numbers 1. I pass the numbers 1 to the function, and then I will run the code. 120 comes from here, so I will delete it. I don't need it anymore. We have a factory. I will run it again. I will clean my terminal. I run it. Nothing happened because the function returned a value, but we didn't print it. So let's print it. I can add a print here. It may confuse you actually at first. I will try to explain it one more time. This function returned something, but I didn't print it, so I can't see what the function returned to me. I can assign it to a variable that we will see in a second, but just to show you, I will just print it. I will run it one more time. Okay, we got the result here. It printed. Now you can easily calculate the total of second array as well. Just doing something like that, I will just need to send this second array. If I run it, look at the terminal. I have two results here. I didn't need to write the same code over and over to do the same operations. As I just said, we don't need to print it directly, so we can assign it to a variable. So let's say result of numbers 1. So I can just print the variable. This variable has the total of this list, so we can print it result to the result of numbers 1. So if I run it, I got the same result. Now let's do another example with functions. So let's say this function multiplies two numbers with each other and adds 10 to the result. So I will write a new function. I deleted it, and I don't need the list. So I write def to define a function, and then I need a name. You can give any name, multiplication, and I put parentheses. If we even don't send any parameters to the function, we need to put parentheses. But in our scenario, this function will take two parameters, a and b. I put a colon again. I will declare a variable here, and what we want to multiply a and b, and then we will add 10. Don't forget that if we want to use the result, we need to return it. After that, we can assign the value. We can assign the value to a variable, or we can print it. It depends on our need actually. Okay, I'm going to call this function, so I will assign it to a variable. It will be better. I call this function multiplication, and it expects 2 parameters. So I will write 5, 1, and I need to print it. Okay, look at the terminal. The result is 15, which is correct. I also would like to highlight that we need to send the parameters in order we specified above. What I want to say is, for example, we specified A and B here. So when we call the function like that, the 5 becomes A and the 1 becomes B. The order is important when we call functions. However, if you specify the parameters and their values manually by passing the parameters, you can send parameters without being dependent on the order. Let me show you what I mean. For example, I want to send the parameter B first, and I need to make the equal to a value. So in our case 1, and then I will send the other parameter, which is A. So the value of A 5. I will run it again. We got the same result. Actually, we will always get the same result because we do the multiplication process here, but as I said, the order may be important in some cases, so keep that in your mind. Now it is time to talk about global and local variables. Look, we have a variable named result here. If I want to access this variable outside of the function, what happens? So let's try to access this variable. I just want to print it. I just write result, and then I run it. I get an error. Name result is not defined. Python couldn't find the result variable that we defined in the function, because the variable we define here can only be used and seen inside the function. In other words, it is the local variable. We can't access that variable outside of function. What if we declare a variable outside of function? Can we change the value of this variable inside the function? So let me show you what I mean. I declare a variable, let's say result 0. These two variables' names are the same. So what will happen if I run the code? I want to print the value of this variable after this function run. Normally, what do we expect that when this function runs, the value of this variable here should be equal to this result, right? So let's see what happens. I will run it. Look at the terminal. It is 0. We can explain the reason for that as follows. The variables we define outside of function are global variables, and we can't change their value within the function. We can only read the value of global variable. I mean, I can access the value of this variable inside the function, but I can't change it. Let me explain better. I will define another variable here, and its value, let's say 0 again. I can use this variable value inside the function. To prove it, if I multiply the result here by 0, the result will be 0. So I want to show you. I will multiply it with 0 here because the value is 0. If I run it again, we got the result 5 because we need to put a parenthesis here. After this operation finished, I need to multiply it with 0. So I will run it again. Look, the result is 0. So as I said, I can access the value of global variables inside the function, but I can't change them just typing, I don't know, just writing something like that. I can't change the value of this global variable within the functions. But you may be wondering if it is impossible to change it within the function. Actually, it is possible. So let's see how to do it. I know two ways to do that. If you guys know a better way, please indicate at the comment sections. I'm writing global keyword here, and I need to specify the global variable name whose value I want to change. In our case, it is 0. Then I can assign any value to it like that. So let's say 1. If I print the value of this variable, I will print it here and I will write something next to it to understand better. The value of 0 variable. Then I run it. I change the value of that variable. That's good. I want to talk about the second method. We can access global variables by calling the globals function like that. I will print it to show you better. I just write globals here, which is built-in function. We will see in a second. I just write globals here to show you what global means. So I will remove them for now and I just run it. Just look at the terminal. Don't be confused by the result we get in terminal. You will understand better in the future. What I want to show you right now, look, we were able to access this variable here. We get the variable name and its value. I want to draw your attention to the type of this result. It is a dictionary. So what we know is that we can change values in dictionary. So let's do that. I will declare a variable, I don't know, global variables, and I equalize it to globals function. And I write the global variables here and I put square brackets here. We write the key of the thing whose value we want to change, and then we set it to the value we want. So in our case, I want to change 0 variable and let's say the value is 1 again. I will delete them. I don't need them anymore. And that's the second way. I want to show you again. I will delete it. The value of 0 must be 1 again. So let me show you. Okay, look at the terminal. We have the same result. I want to talk about default value issue. Look, our function takes two parameters here, a and b. If one of these parameters is missing where this function is called, we will get an error. So I want to show you. I will delete them. I will just write the function as normal. Sorry, 5 and 1. I don't need them anymore. Okay, everything is like at the beginning. I run the code and I got the 15. Okay, if I don't pass the second parameter here, I run it, I get an error. In some cases, we will need to set default value in our function. Our function uses the default value for our parameters. When the relevant parameter is not given to the function, I mean, if I don't send the parameter that a function expects, it can use the default value. So I want to show you what I mean. For example, let's set the default value as 0 here. I will just send a single parameter here, which will represent the parameter a. But I don't pass the second parameter, but it has a default value. So if I run it again, look, this time I didn't get any error because this function used the default value here. But if I pass a value to represent this parameter here, this default value will no longer be used. So I want to show you again. So let's write 1, or I want to change the value here, let's say 5, and run it again. Look at the terminal. The default value has been ignored and we got the result correctly. I will end the video here. I hope you liked it. See you in the next video.